Hi, everyone. This is Lawrence Watkins, and welcome to the Financial Juneteenth 5. These are my 5 favorite articles as it relates to Black finance, wealth, and business for today, October 30th, 2020. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so our lead story today comes from a site called BizNow, biznow.com. It looks to be a site mainly about real estate development and for those who are in the real estate industry, but it's talking about opportunity zones. The title reads, Big changes could happen to opportunity zones post-election, but more will be needed to address disinvestment. So the article starts off by saying, whether Donald Trump or Joe Biden wins the presidential election next week, commercial real estate can expect the Opportunity Zone program will remain intact but receive some tweaks, experts say. That will likely include some reforms and new reporting requirements no matter what. But which man holds the office could determine if the program grows or shrinks in scope. And they were talking about the first with the Democrats winning, and there's a good chance they could win all three houses or all three pieces of the House of Representatives, the Senate, and also, of course, the presidency. And if that happens, that could kick off monumentous changes in tax policy, including a big boost to the taxes on capital gains. But instead of fulfilling its stated goal in terms of opportunity zones with helping blighted areas, critics charge that the Opportunity Zone program attracts investment to already affluent areas, sometimes even funding luxury residences and hotels. And that's a big problem because the main purpose of the Opportunity Zone program was to increase investment into areas that have historically lacked investment. But what we see is that often this can be a fuel for gentrification and basically kicking out the poor residents and using these tax incentives that opportunity zones provide to really give more money to the rich and be a tax haven in the United States for the rich as well. Develop CEO Steve Glickman, so he's deep into the opportunity zone space. And he also helped to craft some of the legislation for opportunity zones. He says that the Biden campaign views opportunity zones as one of the pillars of their economic strategy, especially as it relates to racial equity. There's also, I believe this is Glickman once again giving some of the recommendations, or maybe this is Biden. Excuse me. I think this is Biden's team. In addition to pushing for higher capital gains taxes, the Biden campaign advocates rolling back tax breaks for real estate investors, such as 1031 exchanges, which allow the deferral of capital gains taxes if proceeds from an investment sale are plowed back into another property. So in the Black Business School, we talk a lot about 1031 exchanges. So if you're an investor, that is not such good news for you. But I'm looking forward to just learning a little bit more, to seeing what their strategy and philosophy is behind that type of rollback. U.S. Senator Ron Wyden, the top Democrat on the Senate Committee of Finance, also proposed legislation that would add reporting requirements, strip the OZ designation from affluent census tracts, and prohibit investments in luxury rental properties and similar assets. One last recommendation that keeps coming up over and over again as it relates to opportunity zones. U.S. senators and representatives from both parties want Opportunity Zone funds to start collecting and reporting data on how many jobs OZ investments create in low-income communities, and for the U.S. Treasury to provide granular data on the program's other real-life impacts as well. So this is an excellent article, really talking about opportunity zones. I'm going to give you one last stat that I found to be highly interesting in terms of how much money is going into the opportunity zones. But the rest of the article, please feel free to read on biznow.com. But that stat is the original estimate was that 100 billion would flow into the zones over 10 years. But after less than 2 years, investors had already committed $75 billion, according to an August progress report by the White House Council of Economic Advisors. So this is a story to really look into. We have different opportunity zones experts that have come through the Financial Juneteenth channel and the Black Financial channel, and we look forward to having more in the near future as well. The next article comes from a student newspaper. The University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, has a paper called The Daily Tar Heel, and this article comes from thedailytarheel.com. You make your own spaces. Black creatives talk about imposter syndrome. And I thought this was an interesting article because no matter if you are a college student or older, deep into your career, many times Black individuals feel this pressure and feel like they are imposters in a, I guess, white-owned type of world. And this article addresses, some of those issues, with individuals, in the 20 to 22-year-old age range. Black creatives at UNC navigate being vulnerable in self-expression and self-realization, as many are susceptible to imposter syndrome, especially when they already feel that they don't have a seat at the table. Imposter syndrome happens when an individual minimizes their own achievements and doubts their skills. The first person that they really talked to about this was Papa Berko. He's a senior studying exercise and sports science and music, but he also has, I believe, a couple of albums, one that may have gotten a little bit of traction locally in North Carolina. But Berko says, the one area I doubt myself at times is really the support. Starting out as a new artist is hard because people really want to focus their energy on mainstream people. No one really would support someone who is starting out until they blow up or get on that mainstream level. He also goes on to say, I thought I wouldn't be as lucrative or as effective, but after the first year, I was really able to grow and advance. I don't have imposter syndrome because I know I belong. I'm not saying that to be cocky, but out of confidence in my ability that God has blessed me with. They also talked to another student. Her name is Liz Howard. She's a student studying dramatic arts. But for her, I think the story was a little bit different in terms of how she feels about imposter syndrome. She says, imposter syndrome is the worst form of self-sabotage. For Howard, her imposter syndrome came from her experiences with tokenism. She said her white counterparts would often say she only received certain roles because she was Black. Sometimes you kind of feel like a token, like you're the only one on stage because they wanted diversity. But yeah, so that's interesting because a lot of people I know feel the same way. And as they go deeper and deeper into their careers, you would expect that imposter syndrome would become less, but oftentimes it actually increases. So if you're experiencing imposter syndrome, I would say, that's not the best way to live. I look at everything. I've never really personally asked myself if I belong in a certain place. My philosophy has always been, I'm here now, so what I'm going to do with this opportunity. So if you want to learn more about what students are thinking, please go ahead and read this article in the Daily Tar Heel. The next article that I want to go over, and it's kind of similar, not necessarily imposter syndrome, but being Black in white spaces. And this was very surprising of an article. It comes from the Chicago Crusader, which is a Black-owned community magazine or newspaper since 1940. So this is in Chicago, Illinois. And the title reads, Nielsen ratings Black exec sues corporation charging discrimination. And the reason this was shocking to me is because last week I covered the Nielsen report on like equity and diversity coming out. I can't remember the exact name. I think it's mentioned in this article right here. And Cheryl Grace, was the person who who authored that. I guess that piece of reporting, and now she's actually suing Nielsen. So Cheryl Grace, the face of the company's annual Black Consumer Report, says Nielsen's public message, "You Matter," falls short inside the company. Cheryl Grace, Nielsen's Senior VP of U.S. Strategic Community Alliances and Consumer Engagement, the founder of the series, has been the company's spokesperson in the company's campaign, or for the company's campaign, particularly the report focused on African American consumers. Nielsen's reliance upon everyday consumers, including multicultural shoppers and viewers, is significant because it is how the company can confidently and successfully sell representative insights to its roster of multi-billion dollar clients, which includes manufacturers, retailers, broadcasters, and advertisers. But on Wednesday, October 28th, Grace filed a lawsuit in the U.S. District Court, Northern District of Illinois against Nielsen, charging the 97-year-old global company with discrimination. According to Grace's claim, despite numerous efforts over the years to advance beyond a senior VP role, which she's held for 13 out of 16 years with the company, Nielsen has failed to promote her in spite of her high performance. Instead, the suit alleges her courageous internal conversations and written correspondence about race and career advancements with a number of companies in the C-suite executives, including its CEO, have led to Grace being marginalized and subjected to a hostile work environment. The lawsuit comes less than a week, like I said, after Nielsen released his 10th version of the popular Black consumer report, The Power of the Black Community, from Moment to Movement, as well. And this is interesting also because if you just look at corporate America, you see Black executives, even if they make it to the C-suite or close to the C-suite, they're usually in support type of roles. So that might be, indirectly with like marketing or public relations or events or, in this case, diversity, that type of stuff. But many studies have shown that the most direct path to top level positions, the CEO spot, is if you have run your own profit and loss statement, so P&L. So basically, you were responsible and accountable if a particular business unit made money or not. And Black people, or I guess Black executives, usually aren't given those types of opportunities, which also can hinder their career advancement as well. But there's a quote in here from attorney Janice Mathis, executive director of the National Council of Negro Women. She says Cheryl Grace is a very visible and highly respected Black woman, most widely known in nonprofit and business circles across the nation as the face of Nielsen. She later goes on to say, it raises a troubling and significant issue that the person most responsible for publicizing Nielsen's commitment to inclusion is now herself charging unfair treatment at the hands of the company where she has been employed for 16 years. If Nielsen's biggest cheerleader is not cheering for them anymore, what can the Black community and women's group expect from Nielsen? So that's a excellent question. So from a brand perspective, this isn't a good look for Nielsen, but best luck and wishes to Cheryl Grace as she fights her battle with this particular company. The next article today comes from The Guardian, and The Guardian is a UK-based publication. They have some US-based content, but I believe this is actually in the UK as well, this article. So the title reads, there are more Black female entrepreneurs than ever, so why do they struggle to get funding? And this is a topic we cover relatively often within the Black Business School. It starts off talking about Marian Arifina, and she launched, I believe with her sister, Anita Igbune. They launched the Rise NGO Fund to give space and visibility to Black-owned businesses, including yam importers. The article started off talking about yam importers and how, if you're Black in the UK, that's a big thing. But if you're not, you probably wouldn't know that that's a really big deal in terms of a growing market. But anyway, back to the article. So space and visibility to Black-owned businesses, suppliers of Black beauty products, and more, which otherwise might not see the light of day. The mainstream, she says, the mainstream won't know we're there if our voices are not in the room. She has another quote in here. She says, we had to be really innovative. The techie bit is something we had to learn in regards to starting her new company. Banks and VCs have been slow to fund Black-owned businesses. They'll ask for proof of concept or might say there's no money in it. And yeah, so basically there's a lack of diversity in the room, which leads to a lack of missing investment opportunities. I think I was watching a podcast, This Week in Startups, by Jason Calacanis, I believe that's how you say his name. And he was interviewing Arlen Hamilton, who was a Black female VC out of, I believe, Silicon Valley. But she is known for investing in Black-owned businesses and minority businesses around the nation. And she says something similar in terms of, she's getting all the best opportunities because, all the Black entrepreneurs are, I guess, flocking to her and companies like hers for investment, these really great ideas in helping to give them a start and getting much higher ROIs than what other companies in the mainstream are getting because they're all fighting for the same types of companies. And this article is really talking about that at the core. Women of color are among the fastest growing groups of entrepreneurs, research from the US shows. They faced a double whammy of sexism and prejudice, which has prompted them to go at it alone. Annette Joseph, a tech advocate who founded Diverse and Equal, so that's what she mentioned, or no, her quote's coming up next. So her quote is, "I meet so many people who have said it, who have had it said to them, you're only here because you're Black. Billions have been spent on diversity, but the glass ceiling is still much lower. Career progression isn't transparent, and you just don't get the opportunities." I hear that everywhere. So there's a few more things in the article, but I think this is a good summary. You should read it and see what they're doing in the UK because many of the same inequities and problems and challenges that they're facing over there, we're facing over here in the United States as well. The last article today comes from Forbes, and it's an interview, and it says, "This Black female-led coalition wants to double the number of women of color in tech." It's talking about DeWanda Franklin, and she is the CEO of Reboot Representation. So Tech Coalition Reboot Representation is working to close the gap for underrepresented women of color in tech with a goal of doubling the number of women from underrepresented groups who receive computing degrees by 2025. There's a quote in here. She says, "I am a Black woman in tech and have had a long journey through struggles and battles to rise in the tech industry. We see this moment as an opportunity to build equity. This is the time for progress to be made. This is an opportunity for women of color who may not have the opportunity to enter into tech spaces otherwise." Through its Black Females Moving Forward in Computing program, in partnership with the United Negro College Fund, Reboot Representation is offering Black women in tech professional development, mentorship, and scholarships. The program is accepting applications until October 30th, which is actually today. So if this is something that you're interested in, please head to their website and apply. But you can check out the full interview below. Just wanted to share this piece of news with you as well. So that's about it. Those are my top 5 most interesting articles for today, October 30th, 2020. Before you get out of here, please make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to Financial Juneteenth if you would like to receive more stories like the stories that I've been delivering today with the FJT5 segment. Also, let me know how I'm doing. How do you like the FJT5? And is this something that you would like for us to continue on producing for the future as well? But on behalf of the Financial Juneteenth channel, my name is Lawrence Watkins. You all take care, be blessed, and have a wonderful day. All right, bye-bye. Today's video is brought to you by the Black Business School. At the Black Business School, we don't help you just climb the corporate ladder, we help you build your own as well. We provide a culturally relevant yet practical education in all things wealth building at an affordable price. So no matter if you want additional freedom in your day-to-day life, you would like to leave a legacy of generational wealth behind to your family and friends, or you just want additional security and stability going into your golden years of retirement, the Black Business School has courses and offerings for you. So head over to theblackbusinessschool.com to learn more. Take care and see you in class soon. Bye-bye.